No writers were harmed in the production of this podcast.
I'm Eric Beetner, and this is my writer's dossier.
Today in the interrogation chair, it's Eric Beetner, where he talks about his novels, The Last Few Miles of Road and Real Bad, Real Soon, his fantastic classic movie poster collection, and his historic run at hosting Noir at the Bar. He's up for a big award from the International Thriller Writers Association. He's written 33 books over his career, so get ready for Eric Beetner. Welcome to the Dossier Podcast. Welcome to the Writer's Dossier. I'm here tonight with Eric Beetner. We're having some trouble with the video, but Eric, welcome to the Dossier Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Now I'm upset that I put on pants.
See, people, this is why we book the best guests. Eric Beetner, right out of the gate. All right, well, in that case, man, and we did not rehearse this. I am holding up my Scout's honor. The first question that I had planned was, how many plaid shirts do you have, Eric?
Oh, wow. I have more than I can count on two hands. My wife would say every time we're in a store, I pick something up, she's like, don't you already have that? And my only excuse is that I am of a certain age, that I came of age at a time when I probably had exclusively plaid flannel shirts, and it is from my hardcore punk rock youth. And then that got co-opted by sort of the rise of the grunge thing in the early 90s. But it's always just kind of been my style. So the majority of what I own, are plaid shirts, and I'm okay with it.
Well, there you have it, folks. Eric Beetner, the lead grunge guy here for the Dossier. Any questions about grunge? Eric's your guy, right?
Yes, the most successful of my bands that I was in were in the mid to late 90s. So I lived that post-Nirvana world, right up close and in the thick of it.
Well, you're out in LA, so I mean, it's perfect here. The whole West Coast thing, you've got that going on.
Yeah, all of our best shows were not in LA, though. We were too weird for LA. Nobody liked us here. We had great shows in like Starkville, Mississippi. One of the best shows we played.
Shout out to Starkville.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask about the shirts is because you're doing a fantastic video montage. It's a whole series on social media. And folks, if you're not out there following Eric Beetner, we're going to provide all of his links in the show notes, but Eric is out there everywhere. You've seen those videos, and with a background in film, you're doing them in a fantastic manner, by the way. But the reason I bring it up is because you're doing a series on, and it's an extensive old movie poster and window card collection, which is beautiful. Is it true that this is just the beginning of an ad campaign for you to put everything up for sale because you dumped your retirement savings into an obscure crypto meme coin?
No, my wife would like me to sell all of this stuff. The way that my industry has gone, I've had a couple of, months where I have been out of work. And believe me, I look at the posters on my wall and I'm like, boy, I could get a couple of bucks for that on eBay.
There's a car payment right there. There's an insurance payment.
It's coming soon. I'm about to put my second kid, who's got one more year of high school, and then I'm going to have two in college. So Lord knows the books ain't going to send me off into a comfy retirement.
Well, I don't know because let's talk about The Last Few Miles of Road. And this is the second installment of this series. It doesn't have anything to do with the future of the Dossier podcast, right? The Last Few Miles of Road. You didn't name it after that.
No, hopefully not. Well, Last Few is the first one. The second one is Real Bad, Real Soon. And that might have something to do with the podcast.
Well, I mean, after this episode airs, I'm sure it's going to win some awards and catapult us both into the top 10. But your book is up for a big award. It's, pretty big award with the International Thriller Writers, ITW.
Yeah.
And so the competition includes writers like David Baldacci, Meg Gardner, Isabella Maldonado's in there. So I think I saw where you asked, how did I get on this list?
Yeah.
Is there some secret we need to know about, or is it time people finally figured out that they need to be reading your books? I mean, we're going with the latter here at the Dossier.
I would like to think that's true. Yeah. I mean, look, I think the one thing that ITW has been really, really good at, as opposed to some of the other writers' organizations that I've been a part of and have dealt with, it really is recognizing and respecting small press authors. I think ITW does a really good job of not being judgmental in terms of like, are you with one of the big five? Then we'll consider you. They really do cast a wide net. And I think my instinct is always to be self-deprecating and to make jokes about how I am definitely the odd man out on this list of six. But at the same time, seeing my book among these other giant bestsellers is a huge validation and makes me think, well, you know what? The people who are reading this, the judges, kind of read pretty blind. So the only thing that makes the list is a good book. Doesn't matter what the name of the imprint is, doesn't matter what the blurbs are on the front or anything like that. It's got to be a solid book between the covers. And if my book made the list, then I'm like you say, it's about time.
Absolutely. It's about time. You've been working your ass off for years doing a lot of really cool things. But this Carter McCoy novel, and my bad, yeah, the first one in the series, we were talking about the other one earlier in your dossier. But first, before we get into that, I want to talk about Level Best because you brought it up about the smaller independents. What's your experience been with those guys? And what would you give advice to writers looking for a publisher they're searching for? Do they just go straight for the big five and hope for the best, or search out some of these smaller folks like, Crooked Lane, Winding Road, Run Amok? How has your experience been with Level Best?
It's been good. I have been with a number of small presses. This is my second book, and I've been publishing since 2009, and it's all been with small presses. Sometimes they can be unpredictable. I have had no fewer than 9 publishers go out of business while publishing my works.
Meme coin.
At some point you got to think it's me, but I think that when you're out there and you're shopping your first book, in hindsight, I think yes, it's very tempting to jump at a first offer. It's very tempting to just want to get it out there. And I think the publisher I had for my very first novel, my first 2, was not a good fit. I should have waited. But, so I do think that patience is a huge part of publishing. The whole industry moves at a glacial pace. So you have to sort of prepare yourself for that. And if you've already gone through the grind of submitting to agents and you get an agent and then you're out there and submitting to publishers, you just know that it's going to take a long time. And a long time, literally, it's not months, it's years. And my best advice is that while the machine is slowly churning, keep writing. Don't sit and wait on something and be like, well, I finished my book. Now let's sit back and represent. Wrong approach. You did that. The machine is working. Hopefully your agent is out there shopping it, or you're submitting stuff to places that take unagented submissions. Whatever that process is, you should be writing the next thing all the time. So
that is why you're such a good guest to have on, because that is some of the best advice that I give out, and to hear it echoed, I couldn't agree more. And I just want to set the record straight with everybody out there that Eric Beetner is not the angel of death for small presses. So let's get that clear.
It's honestly not been my fault, I swear.
Mystery Mike's was born in 1986, but Mike Bursaw's passion for books began way before that. When he was a boy, the bookmobile in Minneapolis would park across the street from his house, and Mike would check out as many books as were allowed. By the time he was 15, he was working for a wholesale bookseller, and he's been selling books ever since. Mystery Mike is a legend in the book community, and after a long career, he's closing up shop. It's tough to see the store close, but that means another thing: 45% off their entire inventory. Take advantage now. Things are literally flying off the shelves and being shipped all over the world. Head straight to MysteryMikes.com and get a great deal on books you're not going to find anywhere else. That's MysteryMikes.com. And thanks, Mike, for everything you've done for all of us. Paging Level Best. Okay, they'll be checking in here shortly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. No, check it out, folks. The Last Few Miles of Road, I don't think I've ever seen this. There are 47 Amazon reviews, and I have never seen a 98% 5-star rating. That is unbelievable. So
Well, that was one of the first things I did. I just out of curiosity, when I saw my name on this ITW list, I was like, well, let's see where the other authors are sitting with their reviews. And
4,000.
that was not good for my ego.
No,
David Baldacci's
Eric
got like
Beetner,
20,000.
if anyone's out there voting, come on, folks. The Dark Horse deserves a win here. And tell us a little bit about Carter McCoy. Down and Out. What's his deal? I don't want to ruin it, so I don't want to say something that you don't want out there. But these are good books, both of them, and the covers are awesome.
Thank you.
And I mean, they're not expensive. They're not, it's not a $33 book. No offense to the 33s that are coming out. I'm sure they're good too. But how someone grabs this on Amazon, it shows up the next day. What's going to get them right off on page one to just dive in and finish these suckers?
Yeah, it's funny. I had a text yesterday from someone that I know, not like super good friends, but I've met her a couple of times, and she texted me and said, "Hey, I just bought your book, really excited." And then about a half hour later, she said, "I'm just diving in," but she quoted back a line that was literally on page one. She was like, "That's so good." I was like, "All right, well, that's a good sign." But yeah, it's not a spoiler in the least to say that Carter McCoy is a man in his early 70s, and he's just found out that he does not have long to live. He's got a disease that's going to take him out, and it could be weeks, it could be months, but not much beyond that. So it sort of frees him up to take care of this plan that he's had in the back of his mind for over 20 years that he has never gotten to, and that is to go and kill the man who's responsible for his daughter's death. And with this diagnosis of his, he's sort of freed up to do that. And I wanted to explore what that means for somebody who's lived a good and lawful life his whole 70 odd years before that. What happens to someone who then decides to turn and become a killer, even though it's justified in his mind and in his own way? He's sort of balancing the scales because this other man never was fully punished in Carter's mind for the death of Carter's daughter. So that was sort of the jumping off point. And then I knew that I didn't want to have 300 pages of will he or won't he, is he going to do this? Because that would bore me as a reader. So that question is answered pretty early on. And then it becomes, what does Carter do with almost this newfound power in service of other people? Because you hear a lot, he's a man with nothing to lose. And like, well, okay, how can I make that really true for a character? And so you can't threaten him, because he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm going to be dead soon anyway. So he truly has nothing to lose. And if he feels like he's helping someone else by doing something that is, he still feels is sort of morally wrong and he knows is illegal. And it's this constant wrestling match with him of doing something good for other people while it is sort of eating at his soul in his 11th hour a little bit. And it's just been really interesting to explore that moral and mental struggle that he's having through the course of 3 books. And I'm hoping that as I'm now trying to finish the 3rd book, I'm hoping that I stick the landing.
Yes, because he's supposed to die. So he's got a lot of living to get in before the premise.
Yeah, and it's I think it's a question too for readers, because you do have I'm always drawn to the books that make me think, well, what would I do? Whether it's you find a bag of stolen, there's a bag with $1 million in cash on the sidewalk. Do you keep it? Do you turn it in? It's obviously up to no good, so that kind of thing where you put yourself into the story. And I think I've heard from a lot of readers that people do sort of react to Carter's story that way, where it is sort of like, well, yeah, if you're freed up from the consequences because your time is short, what would you do? Could you take this on? Could you become someone who's lawless but in the service of other people? And I think it's something that people are really, truly relating to. And it's really gratifying to hear from readers that they're connecting to him on that level.
I love it because it's one of those connecting stories of somebody doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, or what they perceive as the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And if you as the writers can make the reader see the situation through the character's eyes, they're going to go along with the ride because, like you said, what would I do? You make that connection. So I love it. I love your approach. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So along those lines of writing, and just a few more questions, people say that you have a standout writing style that's really particular to your books. Some people call it voice, some people call it style, but is there something special that you go for to achieve a certain voice, or are you just being true to you and how you write?
There's a couple of writers who are my favorites that write very, very differently, but you can still take, little clues or just the sense of individuality from those other writers. We recently lost Ken Bruin, who is one of my absolute favorite authors of all time. And he has such a distinct voice that it would sound wrong if I said, oh yeah, I want to write like that. So I think
exactly.
I'm not taking anything like prose style from him or the way he sort of structures his chapters or anything like that, which, because it's so uniquely him, I think the lesson I can learn from that, or someone like Barry Gifford, who I also love, it's just that, stick to what you do best, because that's the number one thing you can bring to a book is, I've always shunned the whole write what you know idea.
Yeah.
I think that's boring, and not everyone has that great of a story to tell. You do sort of, the flip side of that coin is you always have the ability to bring what is uniquely you to your writing. And I think that is the thing that everyone needs to cling to and not try to imitate other people. So I've been told my books are often very funny, which I take as a compliment. And I'm not sitting there trying to write jokes. I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh, I need a comedy beat here. It's just sort of happens because that's how I think. So I think it's little moments like that that add up to what would be considered my style.
I love it. So there you go, folks. Be yourself. Don't work too hard at it. Let it come off, as genuinely authentic who you are, and that will hopefully set you apart from everybody else.
Yeah. Don't work hard. Don't
don't work hard.
Don't do 30, easy.
Don't do 32 books and I can't do that math. What, 9 years? But you said you started in 2009.
First novel was in 2009. So yeah, it's been a lot of typing.
You're cranking it out. All right, one last thing. You're a big supporter of Noir at the Bar events, and I think you just recently hosted one in LA. How did that go?
I went great. I am, to the best of my knowledge, the longest serving continuous Noir at the Bar host that is going right now. I've been doing them in LA for coming on 13 years now. So I've hosted over 350 authors. We've had hundreds of, over 100 events. I've done them in other cities at conferences. I participated in several that other people have hosted, but even the ones that came before me, and I do always like to recognize that it was begun by Peter Rozovsky in Philadelphia. He only did a small handful of them. Then the torch was picked up by Jed Ayers and Scott Phillips in St. Louis, who started doing it with multiple readers and sort of set, I think, a little bit of the template that most people follow right now. And so they were sort of number two, and they were the ones that got the name out there, I think, a little bit wider. And I was right on their heels as the next one in line, because I called and asked their permission. I said, hey, can I do this out in LA? I think it would really go over big. And they gave me their blessing. And then pretty quickly it was up and running in New York City. And, a couple people have run that over the years. And then it just spread like a virus. So now it's been literally all over the world.
Fantastic. So folks, if you ever get a chance, definitely go. And you can find out at ericbeetner.com is your personal website. And then you're also very active on Facebook and Instagram primarily. People should definitely hit your bells and buttons and follow and share and like all the Facebook and Instagram stuff you do, because there aren't a lot of people that are doing what you do at the level that you do it. So congratulations on that. Please keep it up. And ITW, come on, last few miles of road. Let's get that award.
We'll find out in June.
I'll be rooting for you, brother. All right. Well, Eric Beetner, thank you so much for joining us today here at the Dossier Podcast. Everybody check out his dossier at thewritersdossier.com. Find out more about Eric, learn and follow. Eric, thanks so much for all the time, and we apologize for the technical difficulties here on the video, but hopefully everyone will listen and enjoy you here. So
yeah, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for all your support. You've been very kind to me. I really appreciate it.
Well, love what you do, and we'll certainly keep it up here on this end. So thank you. Thank you, folks, for joining us here at the Dossier Podcast. We will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Dossier Podcast. Remember, be good and be safe out there. And here is your official Dossier safety brief. Don't subtract from the population. Don't add to the population, unless you're trying. Stay out of the hospital, the newspaper, and jail. If you end up in jail, establish dominance quickly. The Dossier Podcast is a production of The Idea Academy.